La lum bum 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 bum. Have I told you the one about? Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting night. I don't even know what day it is. It's Pandemic Day, which just means it's day, though it's night. Welcome back to the night of days. And today, or tonight, I have a very exciting guest. I won't even tell you anything about them. We'll decide what we're going to tell you after. Yeah, sure. So let's do our count in. 1, 2, 3, poof!
Hello.
It's Manj!
Hi.
Hi, Manj.
Hi, Michael.
Welcome to my show.
Thank you. The pleasure is really all mine.
Okay, so should we tell people how we know each other or no?
Yeah, totally.
Manj
What do you
is a MFA student at the University of British Columbia where I teach, and I'm her supervisor. So this is me in my unofficial role. Anyways, Manj is one of my heroes. She's amazing, and so I'm really thrilled that you're here.
Aw, thanks, Michael. I'm excited to be here. Your stories are like really pulling me through this pandemic time.
Oh,
It's like my guilty pleasure to once the kids are in bed, I go online and I get to listen. I
that,
still think like Enneagram 8 is still my favorite. Like that one is
I
just...
wish the sound wasn't so. That was my first one, and the sound was so fucky on it. One day I'm gonna retell that story, and then I can have a fresh version where I don't sound like a chipmunk.
Oh, what a zinger of a story. I loved it. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, okay, so here is my magic portal is open, my story portal. If you want to send me your story, I'm all ready to receive it.
Okay.
Well, that was good and gentle. A lot of the men like to electrocute me, and the women tend to be much more gentle with their magic. I wonder why that is.
I'm not sure, but it just felt fitting to do some air blowing or blowing. My mind is very much in the gutter today.
Well,
Because
here's your story. You're practicing for the hard stuff, talking to kids about masturbation.
woo! Yep.
Woo! It's what everybody wants to do.
It's the good stuff. You're at a dinner party, you're with friends. What else are you like? It's what you want to talk about, but sometimes you're like, oh, maybe I won't talk about it. But I was like, what the hell?
Well,
Let's talk about it.
I don't have kids of my own that I know of, and so I am open and receptive to learn from the mothers that be.
So I think if anything, these mothers are kind of like any mother, any parent, any caregiver. They're really just we're free-forming it. But yeah, that's kind of like I thought this would be a really interesting story / question
Well,
to talk about.
yeah, something tells me something happened.
Something did. Okay. So I'm gonna give the story and then we can gab about it after,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'm going to depersonalize it a bit just to make it a little bit more universal. And perhaps, if any children that I know who may relate to this story and find it on the interweb in 15 years, they won't be totally mortified.
A story is a story. This piece is fiction, I understand.
Thank you. Yes, it is. Definitely. Once upon a time, because this is how all stories start, once upon a time there was a little girl, and she grew up in a really small kingdom. We're talking, 2 traffic lights small. And, she did all the things that normal little girls do. She fell off her dad's back while he was giving her horsey rides and opened up her eye and had to go for stitches. She had a younger brother who adored her and chased her around the house or the castle, whatever.
I'm acting a lot of this out, I should tell you. but I am listening.
Okay, no worries. And, her parents were a little bit conservative, I guess you could say. I mean, her dad liked to throw the remote at all the Disney movies where, the princess was about to kiss the prince or the prince was about to kiss the princess, and he'd be like, Disney is junk. And, he was a little ahead of his time, but the little girl, was like, whoa, what is this? And she grew up, started noticing things specifically about how, her parents never really held hands, they never really hugged, they never kissed in front of her. Sometimes she wondered, she's like, oh, did they really have kids, or am I adopted? And eventually, as time went on and as she got older, she was like, okay, I don't really know much about sex or my body or masturbation or anything. It wasn't something that she felt really comfortable talking to her friends while she was growing up. And so, she tried to learn about it from books, maybe some romance novels here and there, maybe a Harlequin or something, but it wasn't quite right. And she
historical fictions. My mom says there's really good sex in historical fictions.
I believe it. I think this little girl has heard the same. Anywho, so she finally, she got to an age where she's like, okay, time to get a higher level of education, because she was smart as a cookie. And so she left her little town of 2 traffic lights and moved to the big city. And in the big city, she met tons of people. And she was like, this is amazing. Look at all these beautiful people around me. For sure, I'm going to finally meet someone, and I'm going to kiss someone, and I'm going to figure out what all this sex stuff is. And she's like, I'm gonna do this.
This is a good feminist story.
You're welcome. Tried. Anyway, she finally did meet someone, but she friend-zoned this person. But then one night, they got really wasted together. And then eventually, a couple weeks later, this person asked them out. And she said, well, I don't have a lot to lose, so maybe I'll say yes. But then the person moved in, literally, like, the next day. So,
after the first
really
date?
On her game.
Is that what you're telling me? One date and then moved in.
What? Well, it wasn't even a date, because the girl was like, I guess maybe like she was hot to trot, but she was like, she got asked out, and she's like, sure, why not? Let's try this thing. Oh, and by the way, I like cuddles, and would you like to sleep over? And so,
and happened. Never go home again. You're sort of like, or this girl, I mean. This girl is sort of like one of those witches off in the forest who says, why don't you come in for a little snack? Oh, it's just one little bite.
Pretty much like, yeah, that's exactly kind of what happened. It just kind of like zoom. And so this little, I guess I should stop calling her a girl, because she's no longer a girl. She's pretty much a woman. Yeah, she's a young adult. And she's, studying and doing her shit and getting all sorts of things done. Anyways, the relationship stuck around. And fast forward, eventually, they decided to do the normative thing and tie the knot for the sake of their families, who basically wouldn't recognize the relationship until they were, quote unquote, officially hitched.
Oh, why is that?
Well, the girl's parents were pretty strict, and they didn't really believe in partners or boyfriends or girlfriends. It was pretty much like you're either single or you're married. And so it was kind of like, they said, okay, let's just do this and face the music and,
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, like, in a roundabout way, as the girl became a woman, she definitely learned about sex, definitely learned more about her body, definitely learned about masturbation, had a lovely partner who loved to talk about it. And, that's what you do in a healthy relationship. You talk, you communicate.
Yeah, you're encouraging.
Exactly.
Touch it, put things there. Do that over here. Let me watch.
Exactly. And so, it was a great experience for her. She could finally kind of come into herself and, finally
Literally.
learn all the things that she'd been reading about forever, but never really experienced, I guess you could say. But sometimes doing the sex, doing all the masturbation, like all that fun stuff that feels so good, can lead to places. And in this woman's case, it led to her getting pregnant. And sure enough, 9 months went by and out popped this little tiny human being with a penis.
Great.
And
I've seen some of those before.
have you heard of these things?
I've heard of them. Rumor has it.
Well, she didn't know much about how to raise a human being, but she felt even more self-conscious about raising a tiny little human being with a penis.
Right.
Her friends, none of whom had kids at this point, gave her these PPTPs. They're like little cotton tents that the instructions said that you could put them over the penis when you're changing the baby's diaper so that the pee doesn't spray you in the face. And the woman thought, oh, this is a genius invention. What a great gift. And so, in that first early week or 2 weeks of diaper changes, she had hand washed these little PPTPs and she put them right on top of that tiny little penis, and it didn't work. The pee soaked through the PPTP and went everywhere, including the girl's mouth and her face, and it was just a very humbling experience. It reminded her she didn't really know what she was dealing with. She was just learning on the fly.
It is not easy to be a new mom.
Not at all. But, as time went by and as this little human got bigger, she was like, I got this. I have changed, hundreds of diapers. I've been peed on and pooped on. I got this. It's going to be all right. And then came potty training time. And even though she had no idea how to teach this small human being how to aim at the toilet,
Mm-hmm.
or how to wipe themselves, she and her partner figured it out together, and they said, okay, it's going to be all right. And eventually the little human was potty trained and could use the bathroom themselves.
Oof.
Well,
and to aim to make sure you miss your mother's mouth, for example. Like, what a great skill to acquire.
Right? Anyways, she thought that she had things in hand, and she thought that, this thing is getting better. I'm okay with this. And she was determined to teach this little human being to be comfortable with her body in a way that perhaps her parents hadn't exactly taught her when she was growing up. She said, I'm going to let him watch as many Disney movies as he wants, and I'm never, ever going to throw the remote when the prince and the princess or whoever is kissing on the screen.
Parenting by counterexample. That's what you had.
Exactly.
Yeah. We had that too. My sister would often say things like, oh yeah, mom did this. I'm so not going to do that. Sorry, mom.
And then it was like she was determined that she would, kiss and hug and cuddle and be affectionate, let, this little human being run around as naked as possible as much as they wanted to. And she was going to encourage that, and she was going to encourage them being comfortable in their own skin. And she was like, this is brilliant. I am doing this right. And she was kind of, patting herself on the back. Until one day, she went into this said little human being's bedroom, and she noticed that he was under the covers. And she's like, okay. And she thought maybe he's playing hide and seek. Well, maybe, She called out. She's like, hello? Anybody there? And she whipped back the covers. And what she saw was really, really unexpected. There was her 5-year-old baby with his hands in his underwear. And the hand wasn't just sitting there. It was moving.
Right.
Up and down.
It was a little animal.
It wasn't a baby anymore. And she was like, oh, what do I do? And at first, her gut reaction after the way that she was raised was kind of to say, oh my goodness, don't do this. Like, that was the instant refrain in her head. Like, don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be discouraging. Or she was like, oh, is this right? Should he even be doing this? Should he even be touching himself at this age? She just turned around and walked right out of the bedroom. She called her husband, her partner, and she was like, I don't know what to do. Really don't know what to do. I just caught our son masturbating. He's 5.
You thought you had another 10 years before you had to worry about that.
You think you have all this time.
One would. It's a, one would. One would think one had 10 more years. Or ish. Or 8 at least.
Things always seem to come faster than you expect them to.
Yeah. Unless you're 5, and then it takes another 8 years for it to come.
Yeah. But I think...
That one was maybe across the line, but I wanted to see where the line was. Just testing it out. Anyways, I'm dying to know what happened. So what happened?
So...
This is really hard. This shit is hard shit. How do you know how to navigate this stuff?
And how do you not mess up this tiny human being, right?
Yeah, and why has Oprah not done an episode on this? So we can learn. Like, hello.
So that would be, like, that's my question, like, to you and, to any friends that I would be sitting out during dinner. I would be like, what the fuck do you say? What the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
In my case, it was like, we're trying. It's really difficult. Trying to say, you know what? Your body is really your body. And if you want to touch yourself, and if it feels good, maybe you'd like to do it in the privacy of your own bedroom. Maybe that would be enjoyable for you. And maybe not to kind of discourage him from doing it in public and or in front of his baby sister and or in front of guests and family members, so that, so he doesn't encounter that, almost like that shame feeling, like just trying to protect that. But man, it's tough because, like sometimes he'll just be watching TV and it's just like the hand goes down and it's moving and he's making these little animal sounds and you're just like, really right now as you're watching Paw Patrol you have this desire, this urge? But yeah, you just kind of remind him
he needed more patrolling of his own paws. Right? You gave me that one. That one was a gift. Yeah.
So anyways, that's my story. So not quite a happy ending, but more of a question, I guess. And that's something that I would want to gab about. What do you think, Michael? Like,
God. Well, it sounds like you did a really great job.
Oh, thank you.
I was
really nervous.
How do you talk to a 5-year-old about privacy, right? That's a complicated notion to get across.
Or how do you talk to them about pleasure and kind of omit any sense of shame or guilt that perhaps you carry within yourself about your own body, and you're like, I'm trying to do good, trying to do my best.
And kids are so intuitive. Like, I remember being a kid and my parents bullshitting me and me thinking, you're bullshitting me. That is bullshit. And you can't really articulate it and you don't dare say it. But I remember being very aware of when my parents were being slippery with things. So, it's hard. That's a really tricky one.
Yeah. They're smart. They're smart as hell. They really
intuitive, right? And they know they've been manipulating you since they first came out of the womb, right? They have their survival mechanism is to know how to communicate with you. So they know how to read you because that's part of your symbiotic relationship. Food only goes in because I manipulate you to let you know I need something.
Yeah, and you are their world for the like from the moment they're out. It's like they turn to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's that symbiotic relationship, and it's also kind of like they know that food comes from you, and they know that what they need comes from you, and so there's that dependency, and it's like, well, if they have wants and they want something from you, how do they get that? So yeah, I definitely think there's that aspect of reading, and I don't know if some days I just feel that I can't hide that guilt/shame or that conservativeness that I was kind of nurtured in. Like, it's almost like it comes out when I'm just like, oh, don't do this in front of your sister. She's 4.
Right.
But then I'm like, well, you could probably wheel that back and word it better. And so then I have to go hat in hand and say, okay, that came out in a really weird way. And I know that it feels good to touch yourself, to touch your penis. And we try and use that vocab as well, right?
Right, yeah.
Penis. We don't call it anything. We just call it what it is.
Yeah.
And, it's that honesty sometimes it's really hard to, like, dredge up. Because it's, they're not, you can't speak to them in a baby voice anymore, too. So it's like that aspect of, here's another piece that you let go as well as a parent. You're like, okay, next step of the growth.
Yeah. Well, I think this young woman did an excellent job. It sounds like she's really figuring it out.
She's getting there, I think.
And so that is talking to kids about masturbation with the amazing, brave, intelligent, and sophisticated storyteller, Manj.
Thank you, Michael. You really pulled the best out of me. I'm glad you have.
Well, there's so much of it in there. I'm just trying to make more space. What? How many more things does she have in her hat trick? Jesus, look at all this.
It's a deep hat, Michael. It's a deep hat.
Okay, I don't have any letters and I don't have any photos, and so fuck it. You can like this page. You can share any old story that you want. You could send Manj or myself some of your own ideas about parenting and kids and masturbation, or stories of humiliation at michaelvsmith.com. You can also tweet me. Nobody does. But I like to say it because the word tweet is so much fun. Tweet, tweet. And you can click the notification bell, which tells you that when we're going live, which is 8 o'clock Pacific, every damn night. True stories for adult audiences. You heard it here. Have I told you the one about? Do you want to give a big kiss out to the audience before we go, Manj? Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Manj.
You're welcome.
La 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 la.